Audio Slug. Title: U.S. Army Garrison Japan Commander Monthly Radio Show, October 13, 2016. Name of primary contributor: Colonel William B. Johnson and Brianna L. Kluckman. The target audience: U.S. military that works on the Kanto Plain. Total runtime: 12 minutes and 13 seconds.
You are tuned in to the Magical Morning Show with me, Senior Airman Erica Blanton, and we have some amazing guests in the studio. Commander U.S. Army Garrison Japan Colonel Will Johnson here, as well as U.S. Army Japan Health Promotion Officer Miss Brianna Kluckman. How are you two doing this morning?
Hey, Erica, we're doing great. Not quite sure just how amazing we are, but we appreciate the props on that. But now we're glad to be here to talk a little bit about our smoking cessation campaign and the health of our community. So thanks for having us.
Oh, my goodness. No, thank you so much for coming into the studio. And like you said, it's very important, some big changes that may affect quite a few people.
Yeah, Erica, I appreciate you taking the time to let us come on the air and talk about this, not just with our Camp Zama listeners, but really for all the folks across the Kanto Plain. It's such a great opportunity to get on air and get the word out about this new program. So starting November 17th, it's the Great American Smokeout. That's also going to mark the day of transition, frankly, for the Army in Japan. Our Army installations as of that date will officially be tobacco-free, other than in designated tobacco areas. And actually, that's much like what you already have here in Octt, from my understanding. So we're really making a transition that looks a lot like the program you already have here on the Air Force Base. Tobacco affects, as people may or may not know, 26% of our population across Japan, and it doesn't only affect those who smoke, but also those who are exposed to the secondhand effects of that, children, family members, etc., who don't smoke. So Brianna is going to tell us a little bit about some of the changes that are going to be occurring on Camp Zama.
Okay.
So basically, we noticed as a whole we were not in compliance with regulation. So we went out to community bases such as Yokosuka and Yokota and observed what they did. We realized we were behind our sister services and decided we wanted to be like the Air Force.
You said like the Air Force. How so?
Well, Yokota Air Base had 22 designated tobacco areas on their entire base. We realized as we looked around Camp Zama, we had 22 tobacco areas in less than a 2-mile radius. That was definitely a big difference between the two. So we decided we needed to make a little bit of a change. We now have strategically placed designated tobacco areas away from sidewalks and entryways, so we can go back to being a walking campus. Effective 1 July of 2016, we had our first smoke-free housing areas. And then effective 17th November, like Colonel Johnson was saying, we will officially be a tobacco-free installation other than designated tobacco areas.
Hey, Brian, if I could just break in here for a minute, could you also tell the listeners about our new smoke-free policy at our towers housing units?
Yes, sir. As part of the Healthy Communities Initiative, we designate the towers to be smoke-free. All barracks are currently smoke-free as well. However, all other family housing area is as is and are still allowed to use tobacco products. This new initiative just gives families another option to have a place to live, and is free of smoke, especially in close quarters. So far, it seems to be working really well.
That is a big change, and that is awesome. Completely smoke-free housing.
Yeah,
so,
in the tower units for sure, exactly.
And especially, like you said, in close quarters, that's really important because it does affect everybody else in those towers as well.
It does. I think, what we had up to this point was similar to what you have here, which is a smoking on the balcony kind of policy. The problem was that smoke was, filtering into the open windows of the adjacent units, the floors above, especially during the transition seasons of the year when we leave the doors open. So really it was still impacting with secondhand smoke the neighbors. So there are other options for family housing on the post that we aren't making smoke-free yet. That's something that we could consider for the future, but for now, we're starting with the tower units. We think it's an appropriate change at this time.
Definitely. Very, very good changes. And that's not the only kind of tobacco as well. Are you kind of focusing on, like, chewing tobacco as well?
Yes, definitely. As of 2003, the U.S. Department of Defense banned all tobacco products inside federal buildings. That includes your chewing tobacco, your vapor, your e-cigarettes, anything that's related to tobacco. As you can see, we aren't really creating new regulation. We are trying to change the culture of our Army.
Yeah, and Erica, what this is really about is not just anti-tobacco per se, but it's about improving the health and readiness of the Army as a force, as a fighting force. By reducing use of tobacco, it's been demonstrated that it improves physical performance, prevents secondhand smoke exposure for, again, other folks who aren't smokers. Hopefully also ensures our new personnel won't start while they're on active duty. So there's a lot of health and readiness benefits associated with getting our soldiers and their families to adopt a healthier lifestyle that doesn't include tobacco.
Definitely, and I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Like, oh my goodness, smoking has negative health benefits. Like, everybody kind of knows this, so it's really good that the Army is kind of taking that initiative to start changing the way people think about this. And you mentioned overall readiness as well. This does include families, so we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how does smoking and these changes, how do they affect children?
Basically, we really want to focus on our children as well. We already started a children's program in the student activities program where they could use it's called Kicks Butts campaign, and it teaches them about the harmfulness of tobacco. In addition, we want to focus on prevention and secondhand smoke exposure. We want to make sure children aren't exposed to it. So there are no tobacco products allowed in the line of sight of children at all CYS facilities and sporting events. In fact, all our sporting fields and gyms are tobacco-free.
That is a really good change. I like that. So you're not only changing how people in the military look at smoking, but also at a young age, children and family members do as well.
Yes, we thought that was very important to make sure our children, not only young children, our middle schools and high schoolers are educated on the process as well.
Yes, they're very impressionable. So to kind of like change lanes a little bit, I know military vehicles, MWR rental kind of vehicles as well. We don't really think about smoking in those, but is this going to change it? What are the policies for that?
Basically, the policies for that is it's prohibited 100% any tobacco products in all military vehicles. This includes aircraft. This includes official vans and buses. This also includes those MWR rental vehicles you rent and outdoor recreation buses as well.
Okay, since we've talked about that a little bit, are there any other areas that are going to be tobacco-free under this policy?
Yes. Basically, the whole installation is going to be tobacco-free except for those designated tobacco areas. There's no smoking and walking anymore. You want to make sure you only use the designated tobacco areas.
Okay, so I'm not a smoker, but I imagine people who are smokers are kind of, I don't know how they're going to feel about this policy. Do you think it kind of targets them? It might sound a little bit harsh. Are you looking to like forbid people from using these products?
No, Erica, we're not trying to violate anyone's rights, but we're trying to respect, frankly, the rights of the entire community. And as a whole, it's been documented, it's proven that the use of tobacco, secondhand smoke have negative health impacts for everyone. So those that still choose to smoke are going to have their designated tobacco use areas, and we acknowledge that. We're trying to encourage them to maybe change that lifestyle because we think it's to their benefit. But we're not singling them out. We're not targeting them. We're not going to persecute them. In fact, we'd like to help them. So if we have folks out there listening today that would like to make a transition to stop using tobacco products, there's plenty of ways that, we at Camp Zama can help them with that. Community members can visit the Army Wellness Center to find out more about quitting. They can visit youcanquit.org as another great resource for those who want to quit. So there's any number, and that's just to mention a couple. There's a number of different smoking cessation programs and ways that those who want to stop using tobacco products can. I mean, frankly, just so the community out there knows, I was a tobacco user myself some years ago. I was a smokeless tobacco user. I did Copenhagen like crazy, multiple deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq, and I was able to quit. So I got to tell you, if I can quit, so can you.
Okay, very good, kind of inspirational words for that as well. And, kind of turning this around, too, if you're a little bit away from, like, a smoking area, it's just a little bit more exercise. So just think about it that way. You can go on, like, a nice walk to an area like that. It looks like you're doing a lot with the policy changes. Like you said, there are a lot of different avenues you can explore as well. So Camp Zama, there's always so much going on there. Are there going to be any events to kind of help people and like boost morale at the base there?
Yeah, we're actually really excited about the events going on in November leading up to the Great American Smokeout and the implementation of this change. Our first event is actually going to be on 8th November from 11:40 to 12:40 at the Army Wellness Center. We're doing a thing called Quit Cold Turkey. We're kind of doing a walk, and at that event, community members could actually learn about the different tobacco prevention resources and win a free frozen turkey. So we're pretty excited about it.
Oh, I like that play on the turkey trot. That's very funny.
Well, and then we also, on November 1st, 8th, and 29th, from 12 to 1300 at the Army Wellness Center, we are offering some of those ready-to-quit classes. So again, as I mentioned before, lots of resources out there for those who want to make that transition like I did some years ago.
And if you have quit already, we're also offering on the 1st, 8th, and 29th November from 1700 to 1800 at the Army Wellness Center support group for former tobacco users that need a support network.
And then finally on 17 November, we're going to be at the Youth Center the PX, and the dining facility handing out You Can Quit promotional items and flyers to really highlight the changes that are happening and kick off this Great American Smokeout.
I like that you're involving the community in these changes as well. It is really important to remember that if you are trying to quit, you're not alone. You do have a very big support network within Camp Zama for this.
Well, and we hope the community likes it as well. I'm glad you like it, Erica. But again, while this will be a change, a change for some folks and maybe a challenge in some ways, we acknowledge that. But we do want to help those who want to make the transition. And this is really, again, about Army readiness, the health of our force, and trying to build a stronger, better, healthier Army for the future. So I think these programs are appropriate. The time has come to undertake them. Step by step, we're going to move forward and hopefully just create a culture that has a little bit different mindset regarding tobacco use in the future.
Definitely. Very important. Thank you so very much for coming into the studio, Commander, U.S. Army Garrison Japan, Colonel Will Johnson, and Miss Brianna Kleckman, U.S. Army Japan Health Promotion Officer, taking the time out to come today to talk about a very important thing to keep in mind in overall health and readiness.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I appreciate having us on to talk about the program, and I just want to take the opportunity to really thank Brianna for all she's done in really spearheading this program on behalf of me and our commanding general, General Pasquarette, and the entire Army community to do what I think is a really positive change, implement some positive programs and changes for our community.
Okay, perfect. And there was a lot of information that we talked about. Is there anywhere that people can find out a little bit more of this, see some of the events that are going on?
Yes, it's going to be posted all around Camp Zama. Also, we're just doing a huge flu campaign, so at that time, every soldier is getting a flyer as well. And we're also doing a homecoming parade that's going to push the information out as well, and that's this Friday. We have the American Red Cross Club that's coming out and doing it for their Spirit Week and giving out promotional items as well.
So a lot of fun stuff going on.
Yeah, you bet. And as always, in addition to all those opportunities, if you still don't get the word, check out our Facebook page. As always, Google up U.S. Army Garrison Japan. You can find us there on Facebook. We tend to have all the different points of contact out there. Check out our Bugle if you're looking for phone numbers of contact for any of the different agencies on post. And as a final comment, if you don't mind, you can't help when we get on the radio to talk about this, Eric, we like to say every American an ambassador. The focus of our conversation today was about health benefits, but I just want to remind our listeners, going into the weekend here shortly, just be on your best behavior out there. We've really had an uptick in positive behaviors from my perspective in terms of how we've interacted with the Japanese community over the last couple of months after the earlier spring where we had some high-profile negative incidents. I just want to basically compliment all our listeners out there for doing a great job at representing the military, not just the Army, really well here in Japan, and keep it up. Just remember, every American an ambassador. And again, thanks for having us, Eric. Appreciate it.